Parenting is one of the most profound things that we can do, and it can also be one of the loneliest. We're all doing it, but so many of us are doing it in isolation, wondering if everyone else has it more together than we do. And that's exactly why my colleague Sam and I created Seen Circles, a place online where parents can come together to feel genuinely seen and heard. Think of it like a compassionate parenting village online, where you can drop in and out whenever you need some listening or support. Each circle is facilitated by a skilled person, and some sessions explore a specific theme, while others are simply a space to share what's been on your mind, what you've been navigating, or what's felt hard lately. Circles run at different times throughout the week to suit everyone's schedule, and there's no pressure to share. But research shows that when we tell our stories and hear from others, it helps us feel so much less alone. Everyone gets the opportunity to speak, but you can simply listen if that's what you need. It's not therapy, and it's not about fixing anything. It's just about not doing this alone. And the feedback? Well, parents are telling us they feel less isolated, more supported, like they're actually learning something along the way. So you can join for one session or sign up for more. Think of it as an investment in your mental health as a parent. If you'd like to join a Seen Circle, head to seencircles.org and sign up today. We would love to have you.
The human experience, with our flaws, our passions, our triggers, our inspirations, and our imprints. If we could see behind everyone's story, then perhaps what we would have is deep compassion. In this podcast, I get the chance to explore these stories from some truly fascinating people in some honest and heartwarming conversations. And best of all, I get to share these discussions with you. I'm Lael Stone, and this is Humans Being.
Welcome to Humans Being. I'm Lael Stone. My humanness for this week is all about the stretch of motherhood, in particularly about when we are letting our beautiful kiddos go out into the world. So as we are recording this interview today, two of my kiddos are about to go traveling overseas. So my oldest is 26. He's come and gone many, many times. But my baby, who is 18, is about to go traveling with her big brother, which is just so beautiful to have, your siblings, traveling together. But my beautiful 18-year-old is going for the longest amount of time. So we won't see each other for many months. And even though I know that this is amazing and I am so excited for her and I can't wait for her to go and experience the world, this ache in my chest is very alive as I feel that pull, which I've experienced with my other older two kids as well when they've, left home or they've gone and traveled. And it just reminds me that it doesn't kind of get easier, like this part of being a mum where, our babies go out in the world and they do their things. You can still feel it deep within. And I've watched myself over the last few weeks kind of turn away from it a bit. I'm like, no, I'm fine. But I actually am really hearing the call to just be with what that feels like when we're having another version of letting go. And I want to be with that feeling now so that when I do take her to the airport, I'm not like a sniveling, like snuffling, just crying mess, because I want to send her off with joy and love and excitement because, that's what I want her to feel. So in the quiet, more tender moments, I'm just feeling that pull, that ache. And if any of you are parents, and I wonder if you feel that, because you can feel that when your child starts kindergarten for the first time, and you can feel that when, they start school or when they go on camp or all those transitions that our children make, which we want them to do because we want them to be in the world. But I think there's this kind of really tender place that we sit in as parents when our kids are doing that. And I think we really, really need to honor that. So I'm just giving myself so much grace for my humanness at the moment in the tender parts of me that are letting my youngest baby fly off into the world and just being with the vulnerability of that. So if that lands with you, I invite you to lean into those tender places that you may feel around letting go of our beautiful babies so they can fly in the world. All right. My guest today is an extraordinary woman who I think knows all about those parts of surrender and letting go and being with what is. It is such an honor and privilege to sit with the amazing Dr. Edna Lekgabe today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome to be here. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to just read a tiny bit about your bio, which is not tiny. So I'm going to read a little bit just about who Edna is. So Dr. Edna is a perinatal and reproductive psychiatrist practicing in Melbourne. She completed her medical degree at Monash University, followed by specialist training in psychiatry across several of Melbourne's leading hospitals, and holds advanced qualifications including a Master of Psychiatry, a Diploma of the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and a PhD from the University of Melbourne. Dr. Lekgabe founded Warm Health Collective, a psychiatrist-led, there's a lot of big words in here, multidisciplinary practice based in Collingwood, Melbourne. Warm brings together psychiatry, psychology, nursing, and body-based therapies under one roof with a focus on people navigating pivotal life stages, particularly around reproduction, hormonal change, and early parenthood. Her clinical approach centers on how hormones, personal history, relationships, emotional load, and life stage interact rather than seeking a single explanatory diagnosis. Okay, words for me today. All right, Edna, before we begin, what I was just talking about then about that stretch of motherhood, you know, you're a mother to 2 children. Can you relate to that? Where does that land for you?
My God, I relate. I was listening. I have an 18-year-old as well, and I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What you just described, letting go.
Yeah.
You want to let them go with joy,
Yes.
with excitement, with curiosity and wonder, and try and see the world that they want to see. And trying to keep in all the fears that we have as moms, which are natural, by the way. It's not unnatural. But yeah, it's a delicate balance. It's always a balance. But I'm not ready, Lael.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. I'm like,
a bit longer.
I'm like, but she's talking about it.
Yeah.
She's like, ooh, I'm ready. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Try to put a smile on. But inside, I'm like, I'm not ready for another earthquake.
It's really big, isn't it? And I think, I often think, you know, I've been a mum for 26 years now, and I think we keep being offered these beautiful opportunities of practice of letting go. It's like as soon as the baby comes out, right? We've got the first part is the letting go of that, right? And it just begins from there.
Yeah.
And so all these stages and milestones that our children go through are these beautiful practices of surrender and letting go and having to sit in trust of our children's journey. You know, they talk about having a child as like your heart walking, you know, around in someone else's body, walking around you. You know, it's so true because just of that innate nature of what it is. Yet I also am so aware that I can't let my fear or my worry be the thing that she's feeling. Like I need her to just be like, go baby, go fly. It's really hard, isn't it?
So hard to do that. Absolutely. To say, I'm afraid. But it's also good to show them that I am afraid.
Yeah.
But my fear shouldn't determine your journey.
Yes.
Your journey is your journey.
Yes.
And you're going to make some mistakes and you're going to do things. And my job is to create that safe space for you to come back to, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And my fear is mine.
Yeah,
Like-
my fear is mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's so important, isn't it? That's mine to hold. And
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan of, as a mother, when we feel that we need to often take that somewhere to work through it so that we can come back and hopefully be as anchored and as spacious as we can be for our kiddos.
Absolutely.
But it's big. It's not easy.
It's not easy. I take it to my friends. I take it to my village.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
My colleagues. I spread it around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You
It's
can't.
good to know that it's so normal. So I would like to start off by talking about something that, you know, you talk so beautifully about, which is the topic of matrescence. And I mean, I'd love for you to just start by talking about what matrescence is, because for a lot of people, I just had a friend here before and I was saying, I've got this amazing interview this afternoon. We're going to talk about matrescence. And she's a mum of 2 adult kids. And she's like, what's matrescence? And I was like, yes, that's exactly why we need to have this conversation.
Bravo. Yes.
Yeah. So let's start there. What is matrescence?
Yeah, matrescence. It is the It's the profound shift that happens for women when they become mothers, right? It's profound. It's equivalent to adolescence. It's like puberty 2.0. It's messy. It's ugly. It's hormonal. It is deep, right? There is biological changes. There is the neurobiological changes. There's physiological changes. There's psychological changes. There's identity shifts. It is, as I said, it's a developmental earthquake. It is something so profound, but it's unnamed. And it doesn't surprise me that your girlfriend said, "What's matrescence?" After 2 kids, adult kids, you said. You know, it is wild that we don't talk about it, but it is a profound developmental transition that women go through when they have a baby, when they're pregnant, having a baby. Yeah.
And so much of what I've heard you talk about it's changes in the brain and the body. And
we know the body very well.
Yes.
We focus on that. Yeah. Pregnancy and the pelvic floor. But no one actually talks about what's actually happening in the brain.
Yeah.
And it's the brain is completely rewiring. It's the synaptic pruning that's happening. And this rewiring is phenomenal. It's a bit like what happens with adolescence. You're rewiring, the child becomes an adult. You're rewiring that child, that the identity is forming. So with a mom, there's multiple areas that change. There's multiple networks that rewire. One of them is the salience, which is what mothers use to notice their environment and notice what's important. The reward system changes. You know, before having kids, being in the club till 2 a.m. was something you enjoyed. Having a 6-month-old, you could think of nothing worse than being in the club at 2 a.m., right? So what brings you joy changes. The reward system changes. Your threat system changes. So you're a bit more aware of things that are happening around your child. You're a bit more clued in if there's any dangers around. The emotional processing part of your brain changes as well so that you can respond to your baby's needs. And the last bit is that, well, not the last, there's so many bits that change, but the social cognition, which is understanding your baby's cues, microsignals. So many changes happen, but we don't talk about it. Talk about it.
When I first heard you talk about this, I've been a mum for a long time. It was like a piece of the puzzle clicked in for me. I became a mum when I was 25, just 25. So like young. I was a baby having a baby, right? And knew nothing about this. I had no friends that had kids. You know, my husband and I are like, let's have a baby. It'll be fun. Like literally that's kind of what we did. We're just like, oh yeah, we're just going to jump in and then figure it out. Yeah. So the biggest thing that was so challenging in that first year or two of my son's life is, and I look back now and go, it was matrescence because it was my brain. It was all those things changing. I felt like I was in a perpetual state of shock. Which had a bit to do with a tricky birth experience. But also I could not put words to or make sense of, I wouldn't say I was depressed, right? But I was just not feeling like me. I was fiercely protective of my son, but I also didn't know if I was in love with him in that time. My body was feeling different. There was a whole lot of stuff going on that I could not make sense of, right? And I couldn't name it. And I felt lost. And it wasn't until years later when I started reading a little bit more and understanding that, I was going through this massive shift. There was the before becoming a mother and then there was the mother. And, we talk about that maiden to mother kind of transition. I remember just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm like going through kind of the death of my ego of who I thought I was to becoming this person in society that felt very invisible because society doesn't really hold us in the way we need as mothers. And all of this at the age of 25, 26 with no friends that had kids, I was trying so hard to make sense of what this stage actually felt like. And it was really lonely because I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it. But I also, hearing you talk about it, I was like, that is exactly where I was. And if I had have had that information, I think a part of me would have gone, oh, this is normal. This is okay. This is actually where you're meant to be. You're meant to be a little bit more on high alert because I'd never been like that before. And you're meant to be far more dialed in to this attunement of what's going on. Like all these different things, it makes sense to me now if that's where it was. But I can imagine for many women when they don't understand that, they make themselves very wrong for how they're feeling.
Correct. They feel like maybe they're depressed.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel quite like depression, right?
Mm.
But you feel like you're too much.
Yes.
Something's wrong,
Yes.
and it's shameful. So we keep it all hidden and we do it behind closed doors because you look around you, everyone else is walking around with the same mask.
Yes.
So it's not spoken about, it's not seen. It's extremely lonely, extremely lonely. It's frightening, actually. And it still happens today. 26 years, it's still happening today. I have women coming to me every day and I say, girl, you're matrescencing. And they go, what's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's talk about it.
Yes. And what's fascinating is, and I heard you say this, of that each time we have a baby, we go through it again. But does it get less, or is it the same changes happening each time? Like once we are a mother and then, 3 years later we might have another baby, is it the same kind of intensity? Or are we kind of just rolling over into the next bit? Or how does it work?
So it happens every time. The first time is the hardest. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that, whether that was the first. The first time is where the biggest earthquake happens, that shift where you're discombobulated. You've been like through a washing machine and you're like, what is going on? Second time around, it happens again, absolutely. The synaptic pruning, the rewiring, the threat system coming back online, everything changing again. And this time it's a bit easier, but also a little bit harder in that you've got a toddler, you've got a child, so you have less time to rest, less time, you have more responsibility. You may have less supports. Yeah. Third child comes along, the same changes, the threat systems, everything's back switched on. It's harder, but again, it's not the identity shift. It's more the load just increases, right? It does become harder. Yeah. It does, but the changes keep happening. But the first one is the most profound, because that really takes you from that maiden, where your time is your time, right? Where all those freedoms are lost. A lot is lost in that first one. Yes. Second time around, you lose less. I'm saying lose as a negative term, but the changes are still there, but less so.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I think second time I became a mum, I remember thinking, I know how to be a mum now. Yeah. Like I know what it takes. I just now have to figure out how to juggle.
Correct.
People's needs.
Correct.
And I think by the time I became a mum for the third time and my kids were a bit bigger, I really enjoyed it because I was like, this is going to just be this phase for a really short amount of time. I'm just going to soak up all that beautiful, gorgeous baby thing. There was something about just relaxing into it,
because I think because the brain changes again, it's familiar. You're coming back to familiar ground, right? It's like, oh yeah, I've been through this landscape before. I know these mountains. I know these, there's a crack there. I know that. That's called sleep disruption. I know that's going to change. Yeah. All the speed bumps, you sort of know. Second time or third time around, even better. Yeah. Fourth time, you're like a pro by then. Your car has been upgraded. I usually talk to my patients about being a car. Like when you're a maiden, you're like a Ferrari. Oh, yeah. And you're like, all of a sudden you enter matrescence and it's like, it requires a 4-wheel drive, but you're a Ferrari and you're like, hang on. And you're trying to drive your Ferrari through this jungle or this desert, and you're like, okay, second time around, you're like, I'm not entering this with a Ferrari. I'm going up to the Range Rover. Third time around, maybe it's a Land Rover. Yeah. Fourth time, I don't know, a Defender or a Humvee. Yeah. By the fifth kid, you definitely have a Humvee, like a full tank. You're like ready.
You got it. I know how to go there. I know. And I think there is that beautiful thing of, it will pass. I mean, I remember, I think by having the third baby, I looked at my husband and we were both like, sleeping. I was like, I'll see you in a year. I was like, I'm just going to co-sleep with the baby. Yeah. You go take care of the other kids. And we kind of high-fived and went, I'll see you in a year. Because we were like, we know that this is going to happen. This is what's going to work. This is what works in our family. This is what's easier. We'll find our rhythm within it. And I remember just laughing, going, oh yeah, you kind of really do. You settle into it more.
You settle into it. Because
and I think that's also too, like I think having worked in parenting for a long time, we see in first-time mums that hypervigilance, the real like, oh, my baby can't have this, my toddler can't have that. I mean, I laugh that for me in those first, my son, he's not touching sugar till he's 2 and he will not look at a television and like all the things you have of these ideals. And by the time we had a third baby, I remember her like being 3 months old on the floor and the kids had come up and put like a chocolate strawberry in her mouth. And I'm like, is she choking? No, she's right. And I'm like, if she's not bleeding, she's fine.
Yeah, totally.
And
Totally.
you really chill out, don't you? Because you realize they can be pretty robust. We let go. We realize what's important. But that first time, I mean, you kind of can't tell a first-time mum that, can you? Because we're hardwired, as I'm hearing, to be on really high alert and this needing this sense of control on some level.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's I also sometimes laugh when I see first-time moms. You're really worried, right? And it's real. It's based, brain is. But you're like, if the human species was that fragile, we would not have made it.
Yes.
Children are more robust than we think, right? But our brain makes us feel like this is the most precious thing, and it has no way of caring for itself. You are its life source. So you need to protect it with everything you have. So everything is geared for that.
Yeah.
Right?
And do you think, I remember too being shocked by this, that before becoming a mum, I would say I was a very relaxed, trusting person. And I am to most parts that still now. But I would see danger where I never would have thought about it before. Like I was kind of like, oh my God, they could jump off the edge of the couch and like impale themselves. And I started to see a lot of danger, which I never did before, and that kind of shocked me. And so is that part of what's happening for us?
System. Absolutely. The threat system. You just described the amygdala, which is the area of your brain that really switches on to make sure that the environment is safe, right? And before you didn't have that lens, right? Now, the salience network that I was talking about, it's assessing what's important in the environment that you should be aware of, that there's water there that your baby could slip on, there's the dog food there that you've never taken note of, but now all of a sudden it shouldn't be there because that's where the baby crawls. All of a sudden you become very aware of all the things that you were not aware of before, because now you're in it, you're living it, right? It's strange what the brain can do, but it's also fascinating. Strange and
fascinating.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It's being very protective, right? And I wonder, just as you're talking about that, about the difference between, say, men and women. So women are having all these changes go on and, their bodies and their brains and they're high alert. And meanwhile, dad's just picking up the baby and throwing them up in the air like my husband. Do you see that that's like a really big disconnect going on? Because, and I know that a lot of the role for fathers generally is about, that imprint of teaching kids about safe risk and play and all those kind of things. But that can be a really big mismatch, can't it?
Absolutely. It can, especially if a woman has had a history of trauma.
Yes.
That becomes even more heightened, right? But absolutely, dads do have a higher risk appetite for risk.
Yep.
As opposed to mom.
Yep.
But when there's a history of trauma, for instance, a birth trauma, that can be super threatening for mom. And that can lead to reactions which can fracture relationships, right? And for dad, the reaction can be mismatched. Like, I'm just playing with the baby.
Yes.
But for mom, the threat system comes on. It's like a lion has come after my baby and I will protect.
Yes.
Right? So it can be quite unsafe.
And it can turn up in those ways of like, you're not putting the nappy on right, or you haven't fed them this, like there's those things that I've witnessed with mums I've worked with as well. There's like almost a need for control in a big way.
Yeah.
Which speaks to that safety piece, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's really good that you actually bring that up, because perfectionism and a need for control, when a nervous system is switched on, so for instance with matrescence, your nervous system is switched on. If you have trauma, your nervous system is extra switched on. The nervous system is now geared for protection. It's geared for, but not for trust. It's not trusting anything. The nervous system doesn't trust how you put the nappy on. It doesn't trust that you're going to put the baby in the right way. It doesn't trust anything. Your nervous system is now wired to protect. Therefore, protection requires control. So you control as much as you can control. I'll do the nappy, I'll do the bath, I'll do the feeding, I'll do the settling, I'll do the driving, I'll do the and before you know it, mom's overloaded.
Yes.
Because the threat system is switched on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is that propensity to head that way. And if you have a history of trauma, your nervous system is designed to protect, not trust.
Yes.
So you can't trust anyone with simple thing like the nappy.
Yeah.
can't trust. I talk to women all the time. I said, let's lean into some help. Can we get you some help? Someone just to do a bit of cleaning. I don't like to have anyone in my house cleaning.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah.
It's controlling, trying to feel safe.
Yes.
Because control feels safe.
Yes. Yeah. I absolutely hear you in that. And I think, I've worked with a lot of women over the years who've had birth trauma, particularly.
1 in 3.
Yeah. It's big. Yeah. And, I have had birth trauma myself, probably from that first birth. As I look back and think, the trauma from my son's experience was just absolutely 100% lack of information of what this process was. I went into having a baby like, everybody does it. Like, it's fine. I'll burn essential oils. That was going to be the thing that saved me.
Dim the lights.
Yeah. The oils will save me. I then went on.
The oils.
Yeah, that's what's going to save me. I then went on to become a doula and a childbirth educator. So I learned a lot about birth, right? And I realized, what was 100% missing was the right education and information, just the absolute naivety that sometimes women go into birth expecting it to be, I just thought I'd just put the oils on and have a water birth with no idea. And so for me, I think the traumatic experience of that first experience was the shock of what was happening in my body, not understanding it. I had my beautiful husband with me who was trying so hard, but no clue.
Yeah, he's just as clueless as you. Like, you guys are in it together in the essential oils.
And the essential oils. And my mum was there too, but she'd had 3 cesareans, so she'd never been in labour before. Like, we were the blind leading the blind. Like, it was a comedy when I look back and I think, wow. And I think, that experience postnatally, I, like a lot of women would do, once the baby was born, my son was born, I would breastfeed him. Every time I'd breastfeed him, I'd relive the birth over and over again in my head, like for months, trying to make sense of it, not even knowing that birth trauma was a thing, not knowing that that was something to be talked about. I have so much compassion for 25-year-old Lael when I look back and think I probably needed me now back then to be like, okay, let's unpack what's happened, where the holes were, where it is. It took until, like a lot of women, you get pregnant for the second time and you go, there's something here. Each time I'd go to the hospital for our checkup for the second baby, I'd start hyperventilating. Yeah.
Body kept the score.
Yeah, 100%. And my husband would be like, I think we've got some stuff to deal with. And it was then
that Were you birthing at the same hospital?
No, different hospital, because I thought a different hospital would make it better.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. That's the solution usually.
Yeah. And it didn't. But what actually helped was continuity of care. Second time round, I had a beautiful midwife. I had a beautiful doctor. I actually had a home birth with my second. Healing, powerful, beautiful experience.
Informed, educated.
Massively. And the right support around me. I had not one, but 2 doulas. I had a team of people that were like, we're going to hold you. It was still hard, but it was transformational. And that's actually what got me then working in birth, because I'd had this lived experience of what had been very traumatic and then also what had been really healing. And I just wanted women to have the information, to have an informed, empowered birth, whatever that looked like for them, right? Whatever they chose. And then my third baby, I had a cesarean. So I've had all the births you can have, right? So I'm like, apart from twins, and I'm not having any more babies. So, I've kind of did it all.
You tried them all out. You tried the whole smorgasbord of like births, every single one.
So I'm
wonderful.
I'm aware of what birth trauma feels like, again, in your own body, and then the impact of that in those early stages. And as you say, 1 in 3 women have birth trauma. And then we have matrescence that they're moving through within this. And as you say, trauma can make it even trickier. When you meet women that have had birth trauma and they're going through these phases, what are you witnessing or seeing that either can support them or just how they're turning up?
They're turning up looking scared, right? They're turning up looking confused. Because matrescence happens for 10 out of 10 moms. So your threat system switched on, your emotional processing systems is rewired. Everything is so 10 out of 10 moms get it. But 1 out of 3 moms, what happens is the nervous system, that threat system that's on, is extra switched on. Yeah, and that threat system puts the mom into freeze, fight, flight, and forget. This is the fourth. The fourth one, forget. So memory's a bit off, right? So there's gaps in things. Can't remember a lot of things, but I can remember some things. But There's flashbacks, there's memories of what's happened. But mainly what I see, it's a rumination of the birth, the guilt that comes with it, the I should have known better, or I did this wrong, feeling irresponsible. And feeling hypervigilant is an understatement almost. It's you just on edge, cannot relax. So I ask Mom, so what do you do to relax? Can't tell me. Yeah, it's the nervous system is switched on, right? And moms will describe, it's hard for them to tell me that they don't feel attached to the baby because that's full of shame. That requires a degree of trust in eyes. Sometimes it takes a while to get there. But what they describe is I feel numb on the inside. I feel like dead on the inside. You know, I'm moving through doing things because I have to. And I'm like, are you being chased by a lion? And she's like, yeah, it feels like I can't stop. Like I have to do, I can't trust anyone to do this. Like, so mothers come to me feeling numb, feeling disconnected, feeling scared, feeling tired, feeling like, is this what it's meant to be like? Well, like, what's happening here? I'm not depressed. I don't think I'm depressed. And I'm like, I feel sad, but it's not that. You know, I'm panicked, almost like scared, fear-driven, like really afraid, compulsively checking things. I need to check this. I need to check that. I need to read this. I'm scared I'm going to do something wrong. I'm failing at this. Like, just feeling scared. So it feels like matrescence, but it's matrescence on steroids almost, right? Because everyone's like, oh, it's normal to be afraid that you know, it's normal not to sleep. It's normal to feel worried about your child. It's normal to be irritable. It's normal to feel teary. But the woman that's feeling, it just feels like it doesn't feel right? Doesn't feel right.
And I'm imagining that there's women listening to this who are like, that's me. Like, I feel
like I'm being chased by it, right?
Yeah, and I see myself in what you're talking about here, or that was my experience of it at that time. Like, there's a lot of beautiful mums who listen to this podcast. And so, you know, when we do have those feelings going on, or that's part of our story, what is it that we need to move towards the healing or to help integrate those experiences? Like, I know it's not a 1, 2, 3 checklist, but what do you see? What do you offer? What is it that you have observed that helps women?
Firstly, acknowledging it, like naming it. Because in silence, it can really fester. It can really get in the way of bonding and growth and thriving, really, right? And this is when it drags in depression and drags in other disorders. Talking to loved ones, just letting a loved one in. I don't know what happened for you, Lael, whether you were able to articulate it to anyone around you. I need help. Something's not right, right? I need help. That's the first, this is the first thing. They don't come to me first. They speak to mom. Partner, friend, a maternal child health nurse, the obstetrician, somebody just to say, I need help. This is not right.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. You're just making me remember. I remember, I think my son was maybe 3 months old or so. I rang my mum and I actually whispered it because I couldn't say it out loud. And I remember saying to her on the phone, I don't like this.
I don't like this,
I don't like being a mum. And that, I feel emotional saying this, that it was the shame. It was the shame of it because you're meant to. I mean, how lucky are you to have a baby? This is a
baby.
And there was this shame. And I remember my mum, bless her, said to me, oh, darling, the amount of times I rang your grandmother and said, if you still want grandkids, you better bloody come and pick them up. And I laughed and she said,
humor will get us through.
And she said, it's okay not to like it.
And
then I was like, whoa. And that, I think, is what opened it up to make me go, hey, this is big and this doesn't feel good. And you know, all those pieces that come with it.
Yeah. And the narrative is that you should feel joy. You should feel grateful. You have a healthy baby. You have, you know, because if you're speaking to somebody else that will have something to tell you that's negative, that someone,
They've got it worse.
They've got it worse. So this is good. So absolutely, we don't talk about the ambivalence, the grief, the grief of the old self, the grief of sleep, the loss of sleep, the grief of everything, right? We don't talk about that a lot. We talk about it, yes, a little bit more nowadays, but not really exactly what it is, and that it can really get in the way of liking this baby, wanting to be around this baby, that when you're so tired, when you're so yeah, saying it out loud is the first bit. Just saying, I need help. Like, something's not right? Something's not right. And if that gets to the GP, or then you get to see a therapist or a psychiatrist, but before those steps, there's the loved ones near you that need to change things a little bit. So partner needing to hear, because moms that have practical support, moms that have consistent support, moms that have specific support, like practically, they do the best. They travel through this matrescence journey better. They upgrade from the Ferrari to like something a bit more. If you have a car that can, hold 4 people, like, you get the support, right? So if a partner can be like, okay, this is hard. What can I do? And not ask the mom, what can I do? Just do it. Just do it. Like, pick up the kid from kinder, and don't just say, I'm just going to pick up the kid, but actually figure out what goes in the lunchbox, what does the kid need? Where is the kinder? Drop off the kid, take a whole task, right? Take things off mom's plate. Protect sleep, support with food, self-care. Self-care is simple, right? Self-care, I don't know why self-care always falls off. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing for self-care? I don't know what self-care, because the mind has become all about the baby, keeping the baby alive. So self-care sort of falls somewhere down the list. I'm like, okay, we need to bring that back up.
Yeah.
Family. I say no visitors, staff only. Come in to do childcare, come in to do a bit of cleaning, leave your judgment at the door.
Yeah.
So that's what generally helps the most, right? Getting that support and then talking about it.
Yes. Yeah. I think there is so much power in understanding. I think when we have information, it's the same with things like trauma, isn't it? When we can understand how our body's responding, we can understand why we have these feelings, that kind of stuff. It helps us to go, it may not stop what we're feeling, but at least the brain goes, yeah, okay, I can get why this is going on.
Yeah.
And then we need to work with the layers of different pieces.
Yeah.
I think even as you're talking about the understanding, the speaking at the support, I want to do a big shout out to all those beautiful postnatal doulas out there who are like mothering the mother, which is, I often used to say when I worked in birth, if I could do anything, I would just make sure that every woman had a postnatal doula, that when she got home for a month, someone comes and massages your body and folds your washing and makes you nutritious food and listens to you if you need and holds your baby while you sleep.
That's for you.
Because we can't expect mothers to be just switched on and doing this stuff if we're not mothering them.
Correct.
And it's I think in many other cultures they do it well, they get it right. I think here in our country and our culture there is such a disconnect around a woman stepping into motherhood and what she needs to thrive. And, I learned it the hard way, the absolute hard way, by not having it. And then by the time I hit my 3rd, I was like, okay, we've got to do this differently because it's not going to work, right?
Can't do it by myself again.
And not do it by myself. And then I think working in birth helped me to see, my goodness, no wonder we see a lot of mums who are flailing because we are not holding them and supporting them in the way that they need in these really powerful transitions.
Absolutely.
And then I think about the ongoing effect of that as what we know it with attachment and attunement, and then the bonding with the baby and how we respond to their cues. And then it's like the cycle then continues, doesn't it? With the disconnect that we have there. And I always think if we are going to change our planet, it has to start at birth with these mothers. It has to start actually even before that in pregnancy.
Yeah.
It needs to start there where we hold and love on them and nurture them and nourish them so that then as they take these steps into motherhood, they are the ones that are setting the tone for these babies and these children, for their nervous systems, for their imprints. And yet we are forgotten, I feel here. Like it breaks my heart.
I cannot agree more. But I think the way our society is moving, we reward independent women.
Yes.
We reward over-functioning women, self-reliant women, women that can take care of themselves. We reward that. We think that, wow, she's a strong woman, right? She's strong. Wow, she's got it together, right? So I tell my women, matrescence is not about learning to do it all, to just do it all. It's about learning to accept care. You need to accept care. Yeah. But if our imprint, our internal model of what care feels like, if care feels unsafe, if you're, I mean, we can talk back about attachment and imprints, and that's all laid out in your childhood. If your childhood, your model, your internal model of what care looked like and what receiving care felt like, if that felt unsafe, when you're mothering, you accepting help is so hard.
Yes.
You can't ask for it, and you can't accept it.
Yes.
So what happens is we're left in a society now of moms too afraid to ask for help, because that will descend them into a pit of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
So they cannot ask for help.
Yes.
Because then they need to be strong. They need to be independent, right? You got it, girl, you got this. But no. You shouldn't have this at this point in your life. That is not the time. This is not the time. Yeah. This is the time to accept care. But if your imprint is, if your attachment style is that it feels unsafe to be cared for, it's not going to feel safe when someone says, I'm going to come and clean your house. Whoa, do not come into my house and clean. I'm going to come and just be with you. Ooh, I don't want you to be there when I'm feeling so vulnerable. Yeah. It doesn't feel safe. But so when I meet women, I say, why are we not letting people in? Oh, I don't want to impose. I don't want to ask. I'd rather do it alone. I'm like, but we can't. This is not the time.
Yeah. And I find, I guess, in my work over the years that it is that I have seen so many times. Yeah. It is the small steps to create evidence that it can be safe.
Yes.
The tiny little steps.
Yeah.
It's, here's a meal. You don't owe me anything. It is a gift to give this to you. If your friend had a baby, would you like to cook them a meal? They go, yes.
I love it.
They go, so let me do that for you.
Yeah.
You know, we do that.
Yeah.
It is the tiny little steps. And I totally relate to the imprint around care. I grew up in a family, and I've talked about this before, of powerhouse women, like amazing women. They do awesome things in the world, right? But if you're not doing 3 things at once, you're lazy. Like, that's the narrative. So I step into motherhood.
That's the imprint that you have.
Yeah, I sit on the couch and I'm like, I can't sit here because I'm lazy and I don't want to be lazy. So you keep going and you keep doing and you don't ask for help. And, you know, that again, I had to reach a burnout before I realized this is messed up.
I can't get what?
Yeah. Why am I not accepting this? And I remember for me, and I have told this story before, which is kind of funny, but I remember when I finally got it of like, I'm not going to be able to be the mother I need to be for my kids if I don't meet my needs. Like, we know this, right? So, but it was so ingrained in me still to have it all together and, you know, hold all the
function. Yeah.
So then I remember going, I need to challenge this narrative. So I remember I rang my mother-in-law one day and I was like, could you look after my youngest at the time? Could you look after Tali? And her response was, do you have to work? And I said, yes, right? This was my first response. Yes, I have to work. And she goes, fine. Because in her mind, it's okay if you're going to work, I'll look after your child. Yeah. But if you're going to rest, no, because that's not what they do, right? Yeah. So this is funny. I got dressed for work. I went and dropped off my daughter, and then I went home and went to bed. And then got dressed again to go back and pick her up. And I did that like 3 times, Edna, until I realized this is fucking crazy.
What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. So I did that 3 times until I realized, whoa. I mean, well done me for at least having a bit of rest.
Yeah, and getting creative about it.
You can claim, and I've told that story to many women, and I've had women be like, yeah, I've done similar things, until I realized, no, we have to change this. And I think what I have witnessed for women, which I'm sure is probably you have seen as well, women often find it very hard to change for them, but they'll change for their children.
This is why I love perinatal space.
Yeah.
Most motivated I'll get women.
Yes, it is true, isn't it? Because I remember what changed the switch in my head is I have 2 daughters And I have a son, but it wasn't so much about him. It was my 2 daughters. And I looked at them and I thought, who they are going to base themselves on in this world is on me. And if I am lying about trying to get my needs met, and if I am hiding, what am I teaching them? I want them to be the most like extraordinary beacons of self-care. Then they're not going to see that. They're not going to know that unless they see me do it. And it was for them that I made the switch. And I know many women I've worked with over the years, I'm like, will you do it for your kids? And they go, yeah. And I go, so start modeling it.
Correct.
And that's what sometimes gets them over the line, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You are spot on. I do this for my daughter. I tell her all the time, I'm going out. Where are you going? I'm going to do a bit of self-care. I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to go relax and sit in a spa. My God, Mom, that's a lot of self-care you do.
Yeah.
How much self-care do you do a week? I'm like, girl, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because that wasn't modeled for us. It felt like you're failing or something, that you should, there could be something better that you're doing. Come on.
Yes.
We reward success in that. We value success and reward in that way. So when it comes to mother, when a woman becomes a mother, these old attachment templates come forward. And if those early attachment templates of what self-care look like, what self-worth look like, what receiving care felt like, what safety felt like, what boundaries look like, if those are all a bit skew-if, if they're a bit different to the way you want to live, right? What happens is they're not serving you. They come to the surface. They come forward, and you then start living in that same narrative again. But now we live in an era where I'm meeting women saying, I want to, end it here. Yes. I want to break the cycle, right? I'm going to break it, but it's so hard to break it because it requires self-awareness. It requires self-reflection. It requires self-regulation. You need to challenge yourself at all times. Because I like you, Lael, I run the risk of doing it too much, like going hard, and I'm like not doing self-care. Yeah. So I have to keep reminding myself, hang on, my daughter's watching me. She's watching me do all these things. How am I modeling self-care? How am I modeling connection and village? So I'm constantly like, hey, I'm going out with the girls. Who are you going with? Oh, I'm going out with these girls. Oh, wow, you got a huge network of friends. I'm like, yeah, they make my life, right? They make me who I am. They hold me together. So she sees that, right? She sees that. So when a woman becomes a mother, she is mothering herself, especially if those early imprints are from an era which was different. We can't blame our mothers. It was the era, the era of their time. But the time is, to change the narrative. Right?
You know what I love, because I think I agree everything you say. I'm just like, yes.
We need to change the narrative. But it's so hard, but it's so hard, but it's so hard.
It is so hard. But I think it's the smallest of little steps that we begin to see the shift. What I love when I look at my beautiful girls, especially around things like menstruation, when they get their periods, they are like me time. Like they just lock in hard to nurture. And I'm like, man,
I didn't do that.
No way. And it was really, I think, again, I wanted to shift that narrative. I wanted to give them the information about what happens when you menstruate and what your body's doing. And like, I am preparing them to be mothers, right? Because I am like, I want you to be so tender, nourishing, tuned in, nurturing to your body, just through this early stage, of your life, so that by the time you become a mother, you already have this story in you that says, I need to be held, supported. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to listen. That is just
safe to care for myself.
Yeah.
It's safe. It's not wrong.
Yes. That's what I really, and if that's all I have done for them, then I have done a good job, because I just want that to look different for their story. And what I often see, and I'm hearing you say this too, is probably the mothers that you work with and the women I've worked with over the years, I say to them often, this takes a lot of courage to do something differently. Like, you are the one in the lineage that's saying, we're going to do it differently. Yeah. And it's maybe not just even about self-care or boundaries, but it's about being with our feelings. It's about speaking our truth. It's about mothering our children in a different way. It's hard because we haven't been shown how to do that.
Correct. And imagine doing that when you're sleep deprived, when you've got the demands of children that you need to drop off here and there, work, relationship. You're mothering yourself while you're mothering.
Yes.
Your children. It is so, so hard. And and interestingly enough, we keep talking about the threat system is designed to keep the baby safe. The threat system, when it switches on, when it's rewired, it also protects you. So your threat system is there to, understand your baby's cues and the dangers, and you're watching out, responding to your baby's needs, protecting your baby. But your threat system has also sharpened your boundaries. So when people transgress your boundaries, you become very aware of it. And so when you asked, this is the best time to motivate moms, because moms, all of a sudden, they can see their boundaries.
Yes.
When they become moms, they see, I haven't got time to listen to this person for an hour. I haven't got time. I don't want to drop off things. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do. It's the most opportunistic time for me. I'm like, girl, you're just redefining your boundaries. They were gray before. You were over-functioning. You were doing the most for everyone, not having your needs met. But when your threat system wakes up for your child, it also wakes up for you. And all of a sudden, your boundaries are redefined, and your partner feels a little bit like, what? You're not doing this anymore? It's like, no, my boundaries are clear. I'm not doing what the other person wants me to do. I need to do this.
For me.
But it's tiny little steps. It's not huge steps, but tiny, like, no, I'm not going to spend an hour talking to somebody on the phone. That's an hour that I could rest.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to, drop off all these things that I needed to do for you when I could be resting in that time. So it's just boundaries become really sharp. Yeah. You start noticing what is costing you.
Yes. And I'm wondering about, in our culture for a long time, we've been raised to be very good girls, right? So we're raised to be very compliant, especially as women and little girls, put everyone else's needs first, don't get angry. Like, we're taught to just kind of shut down, right?
Yeah.
And caretake for everyone. Now I'm wondering, right, as we then move into having a baby and these things are starting to shift and change and we get a bit better at our boundaries, but that good girl still turns up a lot.
Yeah.
And I've seen it all through then mothering as well. And then we reach perimenopause and menopause, and it's like that good girl just gets shafted because she is like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm wondering, and I don't know if you have any evidence of this, that for those women who aren't raised to be good girls but are raised to be connected to themselves, I wonder if they find this transition into matrescence easier or simpler, or maybe not, because there's so many other things happening. But I'm wondering particularly around that boundary thing, right? Because I find a lot of women, one of the biggest challenges that is for them is about having boundaries.
Well, the example that you gave of your mother-in-law having to pretend like you're going to work.
Yeah.
That was a boundary that was transgressed for you. I have a right to want to rest.
Yes.
You should not question my needs.
Yes.
This is my need. So the good girl in you wasn't able to say to your mother-in-law, you know what? I just need to rest. I don't need to. You couldn't do it. It's so hard to do it. It is so hard to, especially when you're sleep deprived, you're tired. You could fall back into that, what feels safe. But the threat system, if we listen to our threat system is very clear. It tells us. I tell moms that we look back at life and we're like, you've been people-pleasing for a long time. Society's expected that from you. You've developed that template, that imprint of people-pleasing. Now we need to get back closer to finding what your voice is, what feels safe enough.
Yes.
What feels safe?
Yes.
What feels safe?
I'm wondering too, like, I heard you say that matrescence lasts maybe for about 7 years or so?
7 years so far. Well, we have, but look, you're still matrescencing. At 18, matrescence.
Yes.
At 18, she's about to go and you're like, oh.
Still got the things, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, we never go backwards, right? We're moving forwards because these changes the brain and we move. And then we move into the phase of life that I'm in now, which is that perimenopause and menopause phase.
I'm there with you, girl.
Okay. And so what I'm hearing about the changes that happen again in our brains and our bodies in this phase, and again, women, God, we're extraordinary. I mean, it starts when we first start going through puberty, right? Yeah. So adolescence, and then we go through puberty, menstruation, all those changes. We do it through motherhood, then we do it, into perimenopause and menopause. And we hear about some of these things which feel challenging and hard, and whether it's just brain fog or whether it's being on high alert or all the kind of stuff. So we're hearing about, often we're told about the negative sides of it. But I'm like, there's got to be the magic sides of it as well, right? Like, can you talk to us about the absolute magnificence of why this happens? Because I always come back to our bodies do these things because they're meant to, right? There's absolute wisdom. I trust the wisdom of what it is. But sometimes it's hard to see the gold in it, right? Please tell me.
It feels like suffering.
Yeah.
It feels like suffering, right?
About the gold of what is the gold in this?
So, yeah, that's a really deep question, Lael. Like that is a philosophical, what is the goal? What is the philosophical answer? But the science tells us, like, I know culturally our language, our narrative is that as we're going through these chapters in our life, these seasons in our life as women, that it's seen as a loss, as a decline, maybe, as something that's, we're losing. That actually the science tells us that every season a woman goes through, there's actually neuroadaptations happening. There's synaptic pruning happening. There is resilience and change that's happening that's preparing a woman for the next season. It's actually not the suffering that we feel. So it feels like suffering, though. It feels like the hot flushes and stuff. It feels like suffering, right? And the loss of sleep. It feels like suffering. But these transitions, the neural adaptations that are happening, the synaptic pruning, it's preparing you for the next season. Preparing you for the next season. It's not suffering. It feels like it's suffering. The narrative is suffering. But actually, this is an extraordinary time for women too, because when you come out the other end of whatever the season is, think of adolescence, right? You come out with the old role is gone. The old coping mechanisms are gone. The old expectations are gone. When you come through adolescence and you come into this adulthood, this new being is born. Same thing with matrescence. You come out the other end, old roles, old expectations, old narratives no longer fit. The voice gets closer to, it feels like you're getting closer to authenticity. It feels like your boundaries are getting clearer. The voice is getting clearer. It feels like that to me anyway.
100%. Like, I feel like that is...
That the suffering while you're going through it is hard. Yeah, especially when it's not named or it's put behind a closed door, like it's shameful to talk about it, or you try talking to other women about it. My mom says, I didn't go through menopause. None of this, there's no one to do it's do it behind closed doors, but actually it's painful. Want to share it, and coming out the other end, the voice does get clearer.
Yeah.
No.
And I feel that. Like, I feel like this part of, like, I am in menopause now, and I feel that these last 5 or 6 years have been, I always talk about it, it's been like the reckoning. It's been like the shedding of old stuff. It's been my identity. And you are so right. I feel like there is a greater sense of knowing of who I am than I've ever had before.
Yeah.
There's the authenticity, there's the coming home to myself, there's a fierceness, like there's an ability to take up space now that I
You wouldn't tell your mother-in-law now that you're going to work it.
I'd be like,
no, I'm going home to sleep, girl.
Yeah. I'm like, there'd be no issue now. And I do get that. I get that and I kind of wish, and some people do talk about it, that this phase that I'm in right now, or that we're in this menopause phase, there is just so much gold over the other side of it as we move through it. Yeah. But I think, as a culture, we like to get sucked up into the hard parts of what it is.
And then, it's decline. Like, it's this season, it's like a gray season.
Yes. Yeah. But I actually go, I don't want to go back to what it was. And there is something fierce and alive and awakened in me now that was never there before. And it's like, maybe I didn't have boundaries before, but now I'm like, I take no shit. Like, I am only doing what I really want to do.
0 fucks.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because there's just a deeper anchoring in knowing now, isn't it? I feel like 50-plus-year-old women, I'm like, look out, world, because they're here.
Yeah. And I'm always surprised by when I'm as authentic as I can be. People meet you with authenticity themselves. You can see almost there. They go, they just want to meet you, and with authenticity, right? Like, it's just, I think it's a brilliant season to be in. Well, for us, even matrescencing.
Yeah.
Going through it. It is rough while you're going through it. It feels like you're in a car being shaken around and things. But the other end, the boundaries are clear. Your voice is clear. You are clear on what you want and what you don't want, right? But it's challenging.
And even as you're talking, like, I just feel this sense of, I mean, these conversations are so vital and important because it's like we need women in every stage of our lives to be standing in circle around to say, this is where you are, this is where you're going to go, this is where we're going. Because imagine if we had that, right? Like, I think back to most phases of my life, whether it was puberty, whether it was becoming a mom at 25, or even moving into this stage. Like, I remember a few years ago when I was right in this perimenopause and I was like, what the hell? I heard about this menopause doula and I found her. Yes, she's awesome. She's in the UK. She's literally called a menopause doula. And I contacted her because I was like,
heard of bereavement doula?
Yeah, about menopause doula. I need to talk. And she's just this woman in her 60s who's been through it.
And she's like,
she basically just holds space for women going through these things and pretty much is just like, I'm here to just show you what's on the other side. And we had like a discovery call and she didn't have time to take me on at that point. She's like, I'll put you on the wait list. I'm like, okay. But even in the 15 minutes I was talking about, this is what's going on. She's like, yep. Like, she was just, it was brilliant to just actually have someone to say, I see you in this.
Yeah.
And then she contacted me like a few months later and said, I've got space now if you want to work with me. And I was like, I'm actually good now. I feel like just that 15-minute chat, the discovery call, made me go, it was really good to know you.
Yeah.
And I feel like so much of what women navigate and go through, a lot of it would be eased a bit. I mean, we have to go through it if we had these conversations, if we had the elders in the path, people who've walked before us, to be there and like hold their hand and go, see you. Like, think back to 25-year-old me, I would have needed so deeply to talk to you. Like, I would have needed me back then to go, this is normal and it's okay and it sucks and let me help you understand what's going on. And
space for it. Let's get support. Let's get help.
Let's walk beside you while you do it. Because I think it's so much about that loneliness and it's so much about the not knowing, all of it.
Everything.
Huge.
It's all right. Imagine. And that exists in other cultures.
Yes.
Just not our culture right here, right now, right? And I think it is sad, but it is moving in that direction where we're trying to get it back.
Yeah.
But if we had someone to walk the journey with us, it would make a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
Right? Just naming it.
Yeah.
Talking. I mean, how light do you feel after going out with girlfriends when you have this weight on your shoulder about something and you go out and just lay it out on the table and they chop it up for you and they're like, oh, you've been there, done that, and you're like, you come back home. My husband's like, how was your night? I'm like, gold.
Therapy.
Yeah. Feel so much lighter because I went and I shared everything I'm going through, like this fog, this ache and this pain and this what's happening here and what's happening there. Why am I thinking this way? They're like, girl, I hear you. I've been there. You know, the ones that have been there, like I've been there. You'll get through it and you'll come out.
Yeah.
Much clearer. And you're like, really, will I? But you do.
Yeah.
Even that 15-minute, for me, it's like 2 hours that I hang out with my girlfriends. I'll come back home and I'm so much lighter. My husband always sending me out. Go out. And the studies say that you need to hang out with your girlfriends every 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
At least.
Really?
Yes, you live longer and you're much lighter in your mental health. And
it makes me think about, again, and it looks a bit different these days, but just how important it is that women sit kind of in circle together. Sometimes circles being online on a Zoom call, but it is that is that connective piece. Even if you go out for a drink with your friends, like it's the same thing. We need that because we need each other to do this. Like the healing is so much in that sharing of a story, listening to a story, all those things are so vital.
And this is the premises of having parent groups, right? You want to be parenting with other people at the same time, sharing. Today, where I dropped off my daughter, my 4-year-old, is hanging out with her mother's group. Like, I just left her with a whole bunch of mothers and other 4-year-olds, right? These are the women that I'm walking with in my journey. Every Saturday I see them and we just chop it up and it feels lighter, right? The kids are there hanging out, but it's really for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what happened? What's going on? Who said what, where, when, how? What happened? It's okay, girl.
Yeah.
Right? And these women are women that I'm doing matrescence with. Then I have my crew that I do menopause with.
Mate, you're in both places, aren't you?
And this is the world we live in now. Women are now doing multiple seasons together, postpartum and matrescence and perimenopause. That's me.
Is your brain really confused? Because it's like,
thoroughly.
Am I here or am I here?
Thoroughly confused. So, I literally, I have my menopause group and then I have my little matrescence group. Saturday is my matrescence group. And we talk about all the things that who slept where, who was sleeping in which room and what happened, who was sick and, what birthday did we miss and who's getting what. And can you take my child? Sure.
Wow. Right? That's wild.
But you need that. You need that to be able to know that it's okay. Otherwise, alone, we're a herd species. We are a herd species. If we are alone, I mean, there's some loners in the world that can, there's some of the herd can live on their own, but it's an outlier. Most of us need to be together. You can't do it in isolation. We have to walk whatever journey it is. I'd love this, what you're discussing. Like we should have people that we're walking, that like a buddy. Yeah. Like a mentor. You stop menstruating, you get a buddy here. Yes. A buddy who's like one season ahead of you, one behind you.
Yes. Yeah, we're doing that together. That's a good idea.
Let's get a buddy system. This is what we do at school, right? You start school, you get a little buddy to show you the way. Yeah. You need a buddy system.
Yeah. I just feel like I've had some really profound conversations in the last few days, and a theme that's come up in a lot of places of giving space to our elders who've walked before us, and how we don't really have that in our culture here. Yeah. And just the wisdom of what they hold and creating space for that is, that might be my next mission and work to see how we can
bring that.
Hit that, more of that.
Right. Well, in my culture, it is, elders are very revered. Yes. They are the wealth and fountain of knowledge of everything and anything. Everything I go to my elders for, right? Yeah. Anything. Yeah. Feeling safe to be able to ask any question and feel heard. And, sometimes they'll be like, I haven't gone through menopause. But what I have gone through is you find your voice. You don't do stuff you don't want to do. My mom describes menopause in her own little language, which is, I can see that her boundaries had shifted over the years and that she's become more into her own voice. And, things have shifted for her. She doesn't call it menopause, but it's the seasons that she's gone through in her language, which I understand. Right?
Wow. I'm looking forward to what the conversations our girls will be having. Imagine when they're at this phase, because we're opening up these doors in big ways now.
Yeah, my daughter, my 18-year-old, is taking it to her friends and like, my mom's talking about matrescence, and they're like, what the hell's that?
Yes. Yeah. How amazing for them to even hear that word and talk about it. Yeah.
We should put it in the school curriculum. You've got a school.
Yeah, I've got a school. We could start folding that in.
Boys need to know about it as well.
Of course they do.
Right? Everyone needs to know about it. Yeah.
Huge. If you could change anything around this matrescence or just this period of time that women journey into, what would you change around it all?
And that is another deep question that I was thinking about. What would I change about it? I'd want to, first of all, get it into the mind of every single woman, naming it, right? Putting it on billboards, throwing little, flyers everywhere, putting in education, with the books, getting it out, the name, naming it, celebrating it, celebrating it in all of its entirety, the joy, the sadness, the ambivalence, all of it, celebrating it, naming it, and supporting it. Yeah. Supporting matrescence in all of it, practically, consistently, right? And very specific. It's a very specific season. So really trying to hold space for it. That's what I'd want. Because it's so sad to me that women don't know about it.
Yeah.
Right? It makes me so sad because they come to me with a label of depression.
Yes.
And I'm like, then I spend hours trying to weed what's matrescence, what's a bit more.
Yeah.
And the bit more, even if it is a bit more, just by talking and naming it, like you said with your menopause doula, just by naming it and putting it into place brings it back down into the normal space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that woman was suffering for much longer than she needed to before she got to me. Yeah. So your naming it would be putting it in conversation of everyone.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
I love that. I'm going to hold that as a possibility.
Possibility? I reckon it is. All right. Well, what you're doing here makes it possible.
It does make it possible. And I think there's some really amazing, passionate women out there who are wanting to change these spaces, whether it's in birth, postnatally, motherhood, or even menopause now. I feel like that's an exciting time that we live in, that we are having these conversations in a way that we've never had before.
And men are having these conversations as well. Yes. It is exciting. It is very exciting.
Yeah. So, I just feel so deeply grateful for you being here, but also just for the place that you're standing in for this work that you are doing. I just, I know you work one-on-one with clients, and I know that, you're doing more things like this where you're speaking about it publicly because it so deeply needs to be heard. And I just feel like feel like I'm going to say on behalf of women everywhere, I'm just going to give a bow to you. Thank you.
On behalf of women everywhere, I give a bow to you as well for doing what you're doing, right? For giving me this platform, for giving other people this platform to be able to bring this out. So,
yeah, it's so important.
Let's give each other a pat on the back.
Yeah, we'll be like, yes,
we got this.
Before we finish up, what would you like people to know about your clinic or your spaces, or what do you want people to know? How can they find you?
Well, you can find us in Melbourne. There's actually been a lot of interest interstate, internationally even, which just goes to show how there's a huge gap. Yeah. There's a huge gap for supporting women in matrescence in the seasons, right? So we're based in Melbourne, Warm Health Collective, which is women and reproductive mental health.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And we're based in Melbourne. We only see people from Melbourne. Well, Victoria, I shouldn't say Melbourne. And yeah, we welcome women to come and see us. If you feel, if something in this podcast has resonated with you, something has landed, even if you're not sure, right? I have a lot of women that come to me and say, I'm not sure if I'm meant to be here or talk to you or see you. I'm like, well, girl, you're here now. Let's talk, right? Even if you're not sure, it doesn't matter. You don't need to have words for it. We'll find the words together, because we're a herd species. We do it together. I'll be the buddy. Well, everyone at Warm Health Collective will be your buddy to be able to find the answer. The question, not the answers, actually, just the words. We won't have the answers. We'll just have words for it.
Yeah, it really is just that first step of saying, hey, there's something here.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had a woman actually, sorry, probably wrapping up, had a woman say to me, oh, I'm not meant to be here. I'm so sorry. I've just wasted your time. And I'm like, wait, you're here now. Let's talk.
Yeah. And you have to trust, isn't it, that
4 years later, she's still with me.
Yeah, of course.
We have fun. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, because it's. I think our body and our soul knows sometimes, and we don't have the words, as you say, and there's a whole lot that can go with it. But just taking that first step of saying, here's where I am, I need some help, reaching out to someone is just, it takes a lot of courage, but it's always worth it.
Always worth it. And it's not just Warm Health Collective. There's lots of services and Dark Hope. There's so many places people can call.
Yeah, there's some good people out there. Thank you so much, Edna. I'm so grateful for you. Thanks for sharing this time with me. You can find my book, Own Your Story, at bookshops or listen to the audiobook on Audible. I even read it myself. You can stay connected with Humans Being on Instagram, Facebook or YouTube. We love to hear from you, so please leave a comment, question or contemplation. And visit my website, laelstone.com.au, where you'll find lots of great resources and courses for you to explore. This podcast is produced by Nigel Carboon, recorded by the crew at We Make Online Videos. Designed by Mike Gall, and our original music is created by Josh Reed. Humans Being is produced on the lands of the Bunurong and Wadawurrung people. We pay respect to their unique and diverse cultures and to elders past, present and future. Until next time, stay connected and don't forget to be human. The ads you hear at the end of this episode are served by our podcast platform and may not reflect the views of Humans Being or Lael Stone.